Hello, everyone. This time we're going to check a little bit the information related to past perfect. In class, we were talking about how to create a sentence or what the structure of a sentence in past perfect is. Remember that in this case, we normally have the subject. After the subject, we have to use the auxiliary have in past tense. Okay. The good thing in here is that the verb or the auxiliary verb have past tense has only one form, had. So it means that if I'm going to use she, I say she had, right? In the case of he had, they had. So it's the same auxiliary verb for all the subjects, okay? After the auxiliary verb, we have to use the main verb in past participle. For example, remember the verb eat in present is ate as simple, but past participle is eaten. Okay. Obviously, we have some more information to add here, right? I had eaten. I had eaten is related. It can be in negative form. Okay, like this one. I hadn't. And we were talking about the in affirmative form. It's more frequently used with the contraction I'd. Okay, so this in here is the same as this. Okay, I'd eaten. I'd eaten. So you notice that small pause when we pronounce the I'd eaten. I'd eaten. In negative form, well, I hadn't eaten. That's it. And in interrogative form, had is at the beginning. Let's change the subject. Let's use they, right? Had they eaten? Okay. And then we continue with the normal results. Now, look at this example we have in here. When she when he arrived to the train, this is essential. Remember that when we use this tense, it needs to go with another sentence in past tense. Why? Because we have to mention two actions in past. Here we have the two actions, okay? When I arrived to the train and the train had left. So we have two subjects. We have one subject with the main verb. We have another subject with the main verb, okay? Now, the two actions are in the past. Which action occurred first? That's why we have this timeline here. We're here. The boy arrived to the train station, but the train had left. So we can see here that the action that occurred first was that the train left. Then the boy arrived. And this is why we use had, okay? The auxiliary had with the main verb in past participle, that is past perfect, to talk about an action that happened before the other. But both actions are in the past, okay? So when he arrived to the train station, the train had left. What happened first? Well, the structure or the sentence that contains the auxiliary had and the verb in past parts. This is the action that happened first. First, I mean in the time, okay? Remember that this action is here. It happened at 9. Then the boy arrived at 9:15. So that's why this is the second action that occurred in the past. So this is mainly the use of this form of the or this tense, okay, to talk about something that happened in the past, okay, but that normally we have to mention that one of them occurred first and another one was second. Okay? This is mainly the reason why we use these steps. Now, in class, we also checked these words that we can use at the beginning of the sentence to introduce, you know, a story, events that occurred in the past. So we can see, for example, words such as Sorry, let me share it again. So we have words, for example, like by the time, when, before, until, after, once, or as soon as. So we can use these words at the beginning of the sentence, like when we arrived. So we're using when, you see? When we arrived at the airport, our flight had already left. So notice that we have one sentence in past simple and another sentence in past perfect. Which happened first? We had already left. The flight, sorry. Our flight had already left. And then we arrived to the airport. Okay. Notice another example before. Before we left, we had packed our all of our bags. So we packed our bags and then we left. How do I know this one is first? Because I'm using the past perfect. You see? Until he visited London, he had never met a native English speaker. He had never met a native English speaker, is what happened first. How do we know? Because we are using the past perfect. Okay? The other action has to be in past tense. So in this way, we can use these introductory words. Okay? They're essential because we're going to have an activity on the test related to this exceptional event. Exceptional events such as coincidence, dilemma, disaster, emergency, lucky break, mishap, mystery, and triumph. Okay? You will have here the definition. You already did the exercise. Okay? And what you are supposed to do is to create a short paragraph, 4 sentences in your test. 4 sentences about an event that happened to you, to somebody you know, where you can create and invent the situation, no problem, in which you talk about a coincidence, a dilemma, a disaster, an emergency, or so on. Okay? The idea is that you create a 4 sentence paragraph to explain what happened, obviously using past perfect. Remember, in combination with past simple. Maybe you can use the introductory words to help you develop the story that you're going to tell us. Okay? So this is essentially one of the parts that you will have on the test. One example, I brought here an example for you to see a composition. In this case, we have a 5 sentence paragraph, but in your case, with 4 sentences, it's okay. Notice that I start with an introductory word, by the time. By the time I was 18, I experienced a profound change in my life. Until this moment, I'm using just simple past. I had struggled with the idea of studying civil engineering or education before that moment. Oh, I'm using here past perfect. You see? So it means before that moment. What is that moment? When I was 18, right? Something happened first. What is that? That I had it was hard for me to decide which career to study. You see? Then I say I received the invitation to start studying at UCLA when I had already decided to study at UPenn. So when I received the invitation to study at the UCLA, I had already decided to study at UPenn. So this one happened first. How do I know that? Because I'm using past perfect. Then I say that decision modified my way of living. That's simple, no problem, right? I decided to study teaching English because I had studied English since I was 12. So it means that before I took the decision to study English, I had studied English before. You see? So you can see clearly here that I'm using several sentences combining past perfect with past simple related to one of the uh, events, okay, one of the exceptional events we were checking in the list. What was that? Maybe a dilemma, don't you think? Because I had like No, I didn't know exactly which career to study. So I was between two options. So that's a dilemma, right? According to the explanation that you have in here, it's it's a situation that you have two possibilities, okay, and you don't know which of them is the correct one. Well, this is mainly what I wanted to talk about, a little bit about that part of the test. Try to practice creating sentences, paragraph related to these events, so you can do it in your test. Okay. Well, I hope you a nice week and see you next class. And remember, check the list of verbs. That's important in past participle. Bye bye.